Hello, welcome to the front row. I wanted to come in and just say welcome to our conversation. I've been super excited about this month's theme, which was the Lyricist Lounge. The front row is an online segment that is hosted through Burst Into Books. If you have not been a guest or privileged to join our conversation in the front row, it's always a great time. For the month of February and actually going into March, I wanted to make it that the front row was focusing on artists, and not just artists who were rappers and singers, but poets as well. And so tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing the one and only Harold Green. And so before we get started with that interview, I wanted to first give a little background about what Burst Into Books is and also what you can expect on the front row. So Burst Into Books is a non-for-profit that I have started. It started back in August of 2018, and our whole initiative is to remix the narrative. And what I mean by that is really pull people in and just help our children to develop a deep love for reading. We do that through book club meetings, we do that through family events, we do that through connection with other organizations, and also my online segments is a way for us to connect with people who also can help them fall in love with reading in a way that's more universal, and you can always go back and watch. So we have Lit Talk, which is a workshop in which we teach reading and writing skills, and then we have the front row. The front row is an opportunity for you to not only to meet people who are living, breathing, and using the arts in a way to help them make an impact in the world, but you're able to see the different ways that literary devices and literary skills are used in our everyday world. And so for the month of February, I actually had the idea of, instead of it just being authors, I wanted to interview artists. Artists because I'm a lover of the arts, and I also believe that reading, writing is all connected to music, right? Hip hop, spoken word, rapping, all these things are different tools that are used to help our kids to better understand reading and writing. And so we already kicked off the month with Il Gordo. He was our first artist that we interviewed. Then early this week, I was able to interview Matt Muse, and today I'll be interviewing Harold Green. And so I am so excited about our conversation. The way the front row works is that it's a personal conversation. So as I'm interviewing him, asking questions, you can type comments and ask any questions that you have, or if there's anything that you want us to address in the conversation, just type it below in the comments and we'll address it as the conversation goes. But again, I'm just giving people opportunity to kind of chime in and log in. The actual conversation starts at 6 o'clock. And so as soon as he's online, we'll get started. And again, if you have any questions, if you have things that you want to share, if there's anything you want to know about him and what his movement is doing, go ahead and write that below, and we will make sure they're answered through the segment. Again, I'm Jareen McGorm, and if you have any questions for me in regards to Burst Into Books and how you can be connected and learn more, we have a website, www.burstintobooks.org, where you can visit and learn about all our programming and the things that we offer. And also you can see our past videos, all the other front row videos and all the other Lit Talk videos in which we've had for the last since August, to be honest. And so I'm encouraged. Next Saturday we have another front row interview, which will be off the chain. I don't want to spoil it, but trust me, you're going to want to watch that as well. So as people are chiming in, we will start the conversation as soon as Harold gets on the line. So again, if you have any questions, any comments that you want to add to the conversation, I have my list of interview questions. But again, if you have anything you want to add, go ahead and add that in the comment box below. So I look forward to starting our conversation soon. Just give people an opportunity to just start coming on into the conversation. The cool thing I love about Facebook Live is that it allows you the opportunity, if you miss this conversation at 6 p.m., that you're able to come back and watch it as well. So this is going to be a really, really cool conversation. So come on in to the front row. Again, if you're just joining us, we're about to start our interview. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them below. But Harold Green is about to enter the screen. Cool. Hi.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, how are you?
Man, I'm great. You gotta forgive me if it's dark.
Okay.
I'm in the car at basketball games all day. So
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. I'm glad you were able to join on. Cool. Can you hear me?
say it again.
I said, can you hear me?
Hold on.
Okay.
Technical difficulty. Repeat it one more time.
It's okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, there you go. There you go. It wasn't coming through.
It wasn't coming through. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, first,
Yeah,
I
I don't
already did the
know,
intro to
because I
the
think it's run. I think
conversation.
it's running through my Bluetooth in the car. So
Oh, got you.
yeah, so I might have a slight delay on my end.
Okay, that's okay. Um,
Yeah, let me
I,
try. Well, give me 1 second. Let me try and turn this Bluetooth off.
okay, no problem.
Okay,
Okay, can you hear me now?
much better. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. So I'm gonna just jump right in. I do appreciate you. I know you had a busy day. I just appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. I already did an intro, just letting people know it's really a conversation. And so usually the way it's gone in the past is that I'll ask a series of questions, and as people chime in, if they have comments or questions, they'll put it below. And if not, we'll just keep rolling through it, and we'll just get to learn a little bit more about your artwork and your movement. So
Okay.
the first question I have is just simply just tell us about yourself. Like, what is your background? Like, who are you? Where you come from? All that cool stuff.
Um, I am Harold Green. I was born and raised in Chicago on the South Side in Inglewood.
All
Um,
right.
and I don't know. I think that's I'm not the best at talking about myself. I think that's the gist of my
That's
background.
that's what's up. So I
Yeah.
guess going straight to your artwork, like when, and what influenced you to start writing, like to become a poet?
My dad used to write poems for my sister and I when we were younger.
Okay.
Um, and I didn't necessarily understand the importance of it until I got older. And
Mm-hmm.
even more specifically when I became a father myself. But I used to I was really inspired by hip hop when I was younger, and I started actually writing raps when I was like in 6th grade, probably, and I knew I was I knew I was pretty good at that, and I think and I continued to write raps, but once I hit my senior year of high school, that's when I actually got into writing poetry specifically,
Okay.
um, and I think I know I was influenced by like HBO Def Poetry Jam and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a big deal to me, and I just remember watching and thinking like, oh, okay, it's people that look like me and sound like me and come from places like I do, and this isn't like your average, coffee house slam poetry. The birds and the bees and the clouds are
Mm-hmm.
white and the sky is blue. Um,
Yeah.
so that was invigorating, I believe. And I don't know. So that's kind of where it all kind of jumped off my senior year.
Got you. And then what made you say, okay, I'm becoming like skilled in this craft and I see the impact it's having on me. What made you be like, okay, I'm gonna use this art form to impact the world or impact the community? Because we'll get a little bit more into what you do. But what
Yeah.
made you be like, okay, this is an art form I'm gonna share and not just perfect for myself?
Well, I think when I first started, it was kind of personal. Like my first set of poems were like for my parents and my sister for Christmas, and then I wrote some for my girlfriend at the time, and all of them had like this visceral effect on the people in which that were receiving them, And I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, I must be pretty good at this if this is having that type of an effect. And then my
Yeah.
sister, we were going to a church at that time, and just so happened that they had a spoken word ministry. And my
Mm.
sister was like, you need to, be a part of that, because she was a very big advocate for me writing, and thought I was really good at it. And she's not always impressed with many things, so I knew I needed to listen. And so I started doing it at the church that we were at. But I was like, that's cool. I knew I was cold, but I knew like, that's cool. They clapping and stuff, but they clap if you do your ABCs right at church. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
when I got to college, I went to Grambling State University in Louisiana. So when I got there and I was performing in front of, you know, cohorts from all across
Mm.
the nation, you know what I'm saying, and they were reacting the same way, I knew like, oh, okay, this is what I'm gonna do as a profession. And
Mm.
I think one of the biggest moments, probably that was like very eye opening and life changing, was one summer I came home from school and I had just like put out my first album and whatever. And a lot of people on campus was purchasing it and playing it. And one of my classmates sent me um, some mail, and it was a picture of her and her newborn son. And
Mm.
on the back of it, she told me, if it wasn't for you, um, he would have never met me. And
Hmm.
what had happened was she had been considering suicide unknowingly, and
Oh,
had been listening to my album on repeat. Um, and something in there connected with her, and you know pushed it to the other
wow.
side, and she stuck around. So at that moment, I really knew, even outside of the affirmations, I knew like, oh, okay, this is bigger than me. And this is something that the world needs. How many more of these people are actually out there that, if I don't try my hardest to put this out, would never notice something like this, some art like this actually exists. So that was a big turning point too.
Wow. And I think that's a perfect segue to my next question. Like, how do you believe spoken word? And I know you kind of shared about like the influence for you, but how do you believe spoken word and poetry has like impacted the literary world? Just because it was a point where, like this is amazing poets, but I think just it's an art form that comes with spoken word. Like, how do you think that has been like a game changer in just like literary world?
Yeah, it's a totally different. It is an actual thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that what has really been what I think has been the game changer has been, like I said, things like Def Poetry Jam was a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
but it also was kind of a big deal for those type of people. I think what
Yeah.
kind of changed the game, in my opinion, has been social media, which is the answer for
Mm.
a lot of things. But I think social media has given so many people a platform, a stage, an audience built in one that did not exist prior to. And you have individuals who are now performing their poetry and adding that layer to their literary experience and the literary experience of their audience. And it has caused a totally different reaction from, I think, the viewing and listening audience. Whereas people, because people who are in the literary poetry world love to act stuffy about spoken word and act like it's just this throwaway urban step cousin
Mm.
of poetry, but it's real.
Yep.
It's a real genre. It has a real effect. It touches a real section of people in this world, and it allows the words to live in a way that literary poetry does not.
Mm.
The one-dimensional aspect of literary poetry um, can only touch so many people, and it's a certain way in which you have to be taught and trained to read that literary poetry that you don't need for spoken word. You can walk in the
Yep.
spoken word open mic, cafe, whatever, and you could feel something without knowing anything about poetry at all. No technical parts of it, no nothing. you just know that that particular thing hit you in a place that everything doesn't do.
Yep. Yep. And then I think just even with that, like that, did that birth Flowers for the Living? I know this kind of like maybe a segue to that, but just like what made that movement come about? Because I've definitely been able to experience that and just being able to merge of music and spoken word. And I've been to different performances. You've been like incorporate dance. So like what um was that even like kind of like a push in like, okay, let me really show you all the power of what spoken word can do, and just even creating Flowers for the Living? Like how did it come to be, and is that like the motivation behind it?
Like I have a zeal to like stand out, like whatever it is that I do, just being unique and being memorable. And when I was in college, I this isn't my first time birthing a artist collective. Like when I was in college, um my wife now, Charisma, she was a part of the artist collective that I created at Grambling, called the Black Hand Side. And I would,
Okay.
write all these productions, and, we would do all these. I was just very serious about what I was doing and the impact that I knew it would have, and, how we would bring all these people together on campus via spoken word and all these talents. And I would put on shows, and it went from like being in like a room in the student union to like them giving me a day during our homecoming week and our spring
Mm.
fest, which is a big deal on any campus, but definitely the HBCU camp, they don't play, you know what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah.
to give me
Yeah.
a
Right.
day, you know what I'm saying, like a day on the calendar, like
Yeah.
Harold Green show, Harold Green presents. And we would put on these big shows. The last one that we did, like I had the MC. We rented a tuxedo for him, a top hat. He had a cane. He marched through, because
Wow.
we was in Louisiana, so he marched through the campus with the second line band from our
Mm.
from our world fame band. They marched through the campus. People was following it like a Pied Piper, and then
Oh
goes
wow.
into the auditorium, and the drum line is at the front of the stage, and we fill up the whole auditorium, 2,000 seats, like just a big deal. Like every
Mm-hmm.
time I did something, I just dreamed bigger and bigger, and that was my whole thing. Like, matter of fact, we had one year where I came back to campus, top of the year, and the campus newspaper had put out the, like, I guess, like notables for like freshmen, like who you need to meet, you know what I'm saying, and like why you need to meet them and what their titles were. And I was in the newspaper for the visionary, right? And like,
Mm.
you needed to meet this guy because he sees the world a different way. He dreams big and it executes even bigger. And that's been my thing, you know what I'm saying? So like, I knew I had to leave Grambling because I knew I was gonna be famous. Like, that was my whole. I was like, I can't focus no more. I'm about to be dog. I'm about to be famous. I can't, no. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, when I came to Chicago, when I came back home, I was like, dog, I got to go hard. Like, I have to.
Mm.
It's whatever I do, I have to make sure it stands out. Like, it's a whole lot of people that do spoken word, but what's gonna make you different? So
Yep.
like, the way Flowers for the Living came about was the actual first year that it was even the inaugural year. I planned to do, because I think spoken word is so intertwined with hip hop. I wanted, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we talk about love and hip hop enough. At least a romantical love.
Yep.
I wanted to, and especially from a male perspective, and that is so respectful of the female perspective and the female presence. And I wanted to make sure that I was doing something that stood out in that arena, because I think that's really important. And the first through the 14th, my birthday is on February 13th, so I was like, this is in Black History Month, which I'm really a big fan of ever since I was a little kid. And I wanted to make sure that we were kind of, I was intertwining those two things. So from the 1st through the 14th, I wanted to put up love poems on YouTube. So I was filming all around the house and cars. My sister was filming with me while I was driving, just all kind of stuff. And I wanted to do something different, and do a series. And it's funny because that series is not up anymore, because it was the first one. It didn't have like music and stuff and what people have come to know FFTF, what it is now. So like, the second year is when I added Charisma and the
Okay.
music component of it. And I was like, well, because I wanted to always build on stuff. I was like, well, we could add music, we could cover some love songs, and I could add my original poetry. And that's different, because I was doing that in college too, and I know that that's a different thing that I do, and everybody
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily do that. And one year she gets pregnant with our second son, so she had to sit that year out, and that's when we kind of called on, you know, a lot of my super friends that I have been meeting over the years from hosting this ongoing open mic that I host, and brought in a couple of more musicians. And then by the time she came back, I turned it into this whole thing, you know, with like
Mhm.
9-piece band, 3 background singers, a roster of all these singers who, you know, just, and it just turned into this. I don't know, this it was a move. It's, in my opinion, it's a movement, right? And
Yeah.
because the reason I say it is because if you've ever come to a show, you leave that show feeling different. You leave that
Yeah.
show wanting to take
Me too.
action in a loving way. You want to reach out to someone. You want to be nice to people. You want to spread love. You know, and that to me is a movement. Things that make you want to move in the name of that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And every time we do something, I'm always trying to do it bigger. Always trying to add stuff. You know, we have the live artists. You know, the wood burners, the painters, the dancers. We've done, you know, photography shows. You know, I'm
Mhm.
always trying to um, put platforms out there for everyone who is involved. You know what I'm saying? And shine light on them and make things bigger for those who are
Yeah.
involved. I'm very involved in their lives as well. Like I'll, you know, sit down and meet with them and see, you know, what can I do? How can I give, you know, my resources and help things along for you? So I really live by that mantra, you know, flowers for the living. I really
Yeah.
live by that, giving people their flowers while they're still here. Like I really, like, if any, you know, anybody that knows me personally knows how much I will extend myself for people and how much I will try to show you that love does exist, you know what I'm saying, in
Mhm.
this world. Um, and that's why I turned it into a non-for-profit, and, you know, just all of these different extensions of what this one idea of just doing a YouTube spoken word series has turned into.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is like, that's just one fraction of what I do. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so many different things. You know what I'm saying? So it's become a very beautiful um engine. I think
Mm.
it's a beautiful engine.
That's really cool. Who would you say, just even as you saying, like your platform of like moving people and moving them to action, who would you say are like the top 5 people who inspire you as artists? And I keep saying artists because each person I interview, it could be like a singer, it could be a rapper, it could be a musician, it could be whoever. So who would you say would be like the top 5 people if you had to list who have inspired who you are and how you like how you work?
Um, I think artist wise, I think that I know for sure, and I'm glad somebody had kind of reminded me of this. Not me personally, but I just saw their name again and it reminded me. Um, I put Gil Scott Heron very high on that list.
Mm,
Um, because when I was in college and I was, you know, really coming into fruition and really becoming this particular artist, um, and I came across his work and then start looking more into his life and more into his accomplishments, I was just taken aback because I was like, oh my God, this is me. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the hope and inspiration and motivation I need to show me that what I'm trying to do has no limits, has no
mhm.
barriers, and whatever I dream doesn't seem silly. You know what I'm saying? Like Gil Scott Heron was on Saturday Night Live. Like that's been one of my dreams since I was a kid, to be like the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. You know what I'm saying? Like, and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that was just like, wow, man, it's been done, so it's not silly. It's not a crazy
Exactly.
notion. You know what I mean? So I think that definitely is a huge um motivator for me. I think that Jay-Z has always been a really big deal to me,
Mm-hmm.
because he was the first person, the first album that I bought with my own money. So I
Mm,
think
okay.
I think those type of things never kind of leave you. Um,
Yep.
so like when I was in college, I would and that I bought the album. That was like in high school or whatever it was, like middle school, whatever it was. But like it's, you know, I've remained a true fan. And like when I was in college, I would watch his DVD Fade to Black before every big show, and it was so funny because everybody knew, like everybody that was like close to me, like my roommate, my friends, people in the artist collective that I put together. Like if we had a big show, if I had a big show coming up, everybody know, like they'd hit me up or they'd say when they saw me the next day, what are like, so did you watch Fade to Black last night? Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. My roommate would even know, like, you already know what time it is. It's Fade to Black time, dog. You know what I mean?
Right,
So,
right, right.
that was a big inspiration. He's always kind of been, even the iteration that he's in now, like just to be of that age and still able to execute at the rate that he does and the level that he
Yeah.
does is amazing to me. Um, and I also think for me in these past couple of albums, Beyonce has also been a very huge deal to me as an artist. Like watching the rollouts, watching the creativity from Destiny's Child to the beginning of her solo career to where she is now, like
Yeah.
artistically, like that's inspiring, man. Like to think, you could be, a larger than life character and still have room to grow. I think that's
Evolve.
to me, I think she's a creative genius, and I think that I don't know I don't know if she gets enough credit in that realm. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that
Mhm.
term is used enough. I don't know if it's because people think that when you're that big, it's a lot of teams behind you, a lot of people behind you and stuff like that. But I think what people fail to realize is she's still the one executing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
no matter what the fragment or segment in which she's contributing to the idea part of it, she is able to execute in a way that you believe. And I
Yeah.
think that that's a very, like, what she did with Lemonade. I just I don't. It was so awe inspiring, and it really caught you up in such a cathartic way that, like, it changed. It shifted the paradigm. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like
did.
that was a very huge moment in music, and I and I'm a I'm a huge Grammys fan. Like I think those type. I'm big. Like man, whenever I win a Grammy and da, 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 da. Like I think I stopped watching after she didn't win that year. I was like, nah, y'all,
Y'all don't know good
nah,
talent.
y'all tripping, dog. I can't even rock with y'all like that. Y'all tripping, dog. So that has been a really big deal to me as well. I think that I also think Kendrick is a big, and I know I'm using a lot of
Yeah.
contemporary examples, but I think that these people are. It's something very interesting about the space in which Black music and Black art is in right now that has allowed
Mhm.
people to grow and expand in ways that even if we were doing them before, it wasn't as publicized as it is now, and I don't think the
Yeah.
space was there as it is now. I mean, hell, Jay shot his Picasso baby video in one of the most grand museums in the world. You know what I'm saying? And invited the public in. Stuff like that we weren't able to do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that now that we have the space to do a lot of these things, our genius is really on full display.
Yeah.
And I think Kendrick is a great example of that. Like I think that he could have very well stayed within the good kid, Mad City mold, but he continues to evolve and push the limits and push what you think a hip hop album is supposed to sound like, while
Yeah.
still having bars. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's been an amazing thing to kind of watch and pull from. Um, I also think for my fifth slot, I think that I would like to use that for a group of people. I think watching the FFTL collective has been a
Mm.
very inspiring thing because it's so many different characters and like so many different personalities, and to watch
Mhm.
people overcome their fears, their self-destruction, their self-sabotaging, their doubts, and to
Yeah.
continue to grow and push and answer the call, I think has been like, I don't. It makes me go even harder, because I
Yeah.
feel like these people deserve to be heard from. These people deserve to have even bigger platforms. And if what I'm doing is going to continue to push their career and push them to continue to do something, then I'm going to
Yep.
do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think my even my wife, like, I think she has so much talent and one of the most beautiful voices I've heard. And I know for a fact, if I wasn't always creating platforms for her to sing and creating, you know, these moments for her to be a part of, she would be very okay with just being a teacher. You know what I'm saying? And like kind of
Yeah.
forget about how amazing she is. And I think that type of stuff is very motivating. And that's not the only person, but like that's somebody that I think about a lot. And I think about when I'm creating these platforms, creating these moments, like people deserve to hear from these people. Like these people deserve to continuously be heard. So I hope I wasn't long-winded in that answer,
No.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so even with that, like what would you say, we're getting towards the end, what would you say is a piece of advice you would have for those who are entering into this field and wanting to be spoken word artists or wanting to aspire to like make a movement the way you're doing? Like what would be your first piece of advice for them?
Uh you you have to be a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be willing to devote yourself to something that people are going to continuously tell you ain't a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have that problem because I just kind of have a you probably shouldn't say nothing to him type vibe. But like, you know, it's a thing that exists. Like I'm not foolish. Like I know that if I didn't have all the accolades that I have now, whatever, if I just told people I do spoken word, they were like, oh, okay, so what's your job? You know what I'm saying? So you have to be willing to commit yourself over long periods of time. I've been doing this for 15 plus years. You know what I'm saying? Like, and going hard, like for 15 plus years. And I think that you have to always remember that it's not going to look like what everything else look like. It's not going to look like rap careers. It's not going to look like singing careers. It's not going to even look like photography or painting careers. Like this is something that I have to build out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't a roster slot on somebody's record label. They don't have the roster for spoken word artists. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not something that exists. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have a union or something like that. We don't have a gathering of the minds or a gathering of the spoken word professionals. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't no conference or nothing like that. Like you have to be very willing to create something that you feel like is going to stick with people and be willing to go super hard with it. Like I was watching a video the other day of Toby and Waggy. I am from Houston, and he was talking about how he was on a radio interview, and he was talking about how he had said when he first started doing his Twisted Sundays that he was gonna do it for 10 years, and if after them 10 years, you know, he didn't have the accolades and all the awards, whatever, he wasn't, you know, the notoriety wasn't there, then okay, cool, whatever, I'll figure it out, or I'll, you know, go back to the drawing board, whatever. But I'm gonna give it 10 hard years. And I was just like, I knew the more I learned about him, the more I like him, but I knew from the jump that I liked him. But I'm like, man, he's me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the same conversation you can ask Charisma. It's the same conversation I've had forever. Like, I was like, man, FFTL hit that 10-year mark. If it ain't, you know, blown up to like what I think it should be and whatever, then I'll think about it, you know, then. But I can't even think about switching gears or, you know, whatever, unless I give it that full commitment that I said I would in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I am with so many things. Like, even with the year-long commitment I made to writing a new poem every day and all this different stuff that I commit. So I'm a very committing type person. I'm very dedicated. Like if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna go 110. And I'm gonna make sure that if it don't go the way I thought it should, or it doesn't hit the marks that I thought it should, it wasn't necessarily my fault. I tried as hard as I could. But I can't control the world. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to turn your crazy on. Like that's a crazy notion. You know what I'm saying? Commit yourself to something that hard that you don't know how it's gonna turn out.
You see no immediate benefits from it.
You have no clue what it's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? But you got to be willing to see through that dark and know that there could be some light on the other side.
Yeah.
Or just do it for a hobby if you ain't that crazy.
Right.
That's the other piece. You know, if you ain't willing to be
Right.
that crazy, go ahead and do it as a hobby.
So what would you say, and this is pretty much my last question before we figure out how to keep in contact with you, what would you say is the next thing? Like, I know you said you're always evolving. Like, what's the next thing for you that you feel like you're working on now, or you envision being the next thing that you're gearing towards?
I don't know. It's so funny because I'm working in 2020 right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have so many like proposals and different things kind of, you know, floating out in the world right now that I'm waiting on confirmation for, and all these ideas that I come up with and trying to execute them. But a lot of stuff takes yeses on the other end. So I couldn't even say like, oh, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. I'm still waiting on word back. You know what I'm saying? But I have a whole bunch of ideas that I shoot out and I try to accomplish. But a lot of this stuff is collaboration. It's me reaching up. You know what I'm saying? And like not thinking that just a bunch of poems is gonna do it. Like I have to partner. I have to bring in other people's bases. I have to bring in other people's consumers, other people's audiences, and that is what makes this go further. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been writing very good poems for a very long time. That's not the end game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's about how far can I take it? What arenas, what places can I put it in so that more people and more people and more people know? You know, like somebody was talking to me the other day about the 10th anniversary show for FFTL, and they was trying to figure out like, man, gee, we should have it at, and I was like, the United Center. They was like, see, that's why you are who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how my mind, you know, works. Because if I was to think small, I would live small. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what I'm on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really trying to get married to more brands and more situations that push the art that has already been created, because the content is already there. You know, and I always tell people, like, in my personal opinion, I feel like each one of these 5 to the 11 videos should have 1 million views. You know, it's so many different like things going on. Ain't nobody doing it the way we doing it. You know what I mean? And and even outside of that, the videos that I do outside of that, the work that I do outside of that. I mean, hell, even last year alone, when I decided to go full time with this, I set up a $20,000 CPS scholarship for creative writing. I partnered up with the Jordan brand to give scholars, you know, all these shoes and all this great information. And woo. Got, you know, still working on getting, you know, people's writings up in the CTA. All of these big outlandish things that normally one would imagine would be in the news. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that's just my everyday. That's just what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to push it forward and put it in fields and arenas that people would have never thought of before. So I don't have a definitive answer for what it looks like, because it looks different every single day.
Yeah, that's what's up. So what would be one way that people, once they watch this and they're able to learn your name, like how can they follow you and continue to see like the great work that you're doing?
It's Harold Green on all platforms. So whatever platform they on, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, YouTube, it's Harold Green. And you can find me at any of those social media sites with that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Harold. You even inspired me as I'm building this brand and my organization. Like,
you gotta go hard.
I'm really learning the power, like you just said, of collaboration and partnership. Like, it is not a competition. Like, the only way we can really build is if we are working together. So
correct.
Sharing that really was very confirming for me. Let me say that.
Yeah. No, this is a great idea you have, and just go hard with it, man. And make sure that people who have already created some things or whatever, like, they know who you are too. You know what I mean?
Cool. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
You as well.
All right. Take care.
All right.